Hey guys, I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC 193. There's a lot to talk about on this card, but before I get into that, I had to plug my own author's website. I am an aspiring author, so you can go to www.chrismoldon.com. You can buy some short story collections, check out my blog, check out the Writer's Talk web series, and on January 1st, you can welcome my first novel, The Mustard Prince in the Convent Kingdom. So yeah, check that out when you can. Uh, Other news too with me. I actually just came from my very first gi Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournament. I did 3 matches. I won the first one, but lost next two. It's a good experience. Real fun stuff. Um, Honestly, I look very fondly at that experience. And yeah, if you're any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners out there, I greatly recommend competing. It's definitely a great learning process. Okay, on to UFC 193. Funny thing about this, because Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey in the second round, is this actually kind of helped my first tournament in a sense. It was kind of funny because I'm thinking like, oh wow, even like the supposed best lose too. It's like, oh my, if I lose, well, it's not going to be as bad as Ronda Rousey losing. Like it's kind of bad, but it's like the truth. It actually like kind of helped calm my nerves in a sense. But yeah, let's get right to it. Well, actually, let's not get right to it. My overall picks 8 out of 13. Not too bad, not too great. There were some good upsets here, actually. Bonuses: Holm and Rousey earned fight of the night, while Holm and Noak earned performance of the night. One thing to note is that I believe Holm's KO over Rousey is one of the biggest, if not the biggest betting upsets maybe, in all of UFC history. As far as like marquee value, I mean, there's like Sarah St. Pierre, obviously, but this one I think might actually trump that. So yeah, let's get started. Holly Holm defeated Ronda Rousey by knockout in 59 seconds in the second round. There's a lot to talk about here. I'm not kidding. I'm going to really talk about this fight and analyze a couple things. One, I actually rewatched this. I have it on DVR. It is a fun fight to watch, even on a technical level. Looking at Holmes' technique, it's actually really good. Just what she's doing, she's attacking the combination. She's angling out. She's not backing up straight against the cage. She was actually in grappling exchanges, but she was there to disengage. She didn't welcome the grappling exchanges, but she was ready for them. So yeah, there's so much to talk about here. Here's one thing that's interesting about Holly Holm, and I don't think this actually changes anything in the fight if they fight again. One is Holm is just a really good athlete. I mean, I think as far as the women's bantamweight division is concerned, like Holmes one of the better athletes of the division. Rousey is. I'd say McMahon also. Not to say like Tate isn't a good athlete, but like these are just better athletes. One thing about Holm though that's very noticeable is I think she might be the biggest fighter of her weight class. And once again, I don't think I'm not trying to discredit her by saying that, but like it is very interesting because Holm is taller. So if Rousey wants to take her down from the clinch and utilize her judo, she's going to have to break down her posture. It's very hard to do against a taller opponent. Also, Holm was just defending the clinch really well, putting the hands on the hips, using a forearm shield at times so that Rousey doesn't get close, pushing off, going for her own takedown, her own body lock takedown, and then disengaging once the fight hit the ground. Great stuff from Holm there. The straight left was on point for Holm. And it helped. It's funny because Holly Holm isn't known as a one-punch knockout artist or heavy-handed. But here's the thing, and this is really built into Ronda Rousey. She cannot help herself from bull rushing. I mean, it is such an ingrained habit in her now that the thing is, it doesn't matter if Holm doesn't necessarily punch hard. Ronda Rousey is running into those punches. I think also Holm's a southpaw. I wonder if that threw her off as well. The other thing with Ronda Rousey too is, and this shows in a lot of her fights, she is just not economical with her offense. Like as far as energy goes, she really bull rushes forward. She kind of brawls and gets desperate, and she keeps working that game plan. She doesn't seem to have a plan B, honestly. She's also very off balance as well. I'm gonna have to. I mean, after watching this fight, there has to have a criticism towards Tarverdian and Glendale Fighting Club. I mean, everything I'm saying is in hindsight, obviously. I mean, coming into the fight, yeah, I knew Holm could work this game plan in a sense that she can kind of hit and run, but like that was really underestimating what Holm did. She did way more than that in this fight. But yeah, you see Travis Brown, Jake Ellenberger, Marina Shafir. They have no head movement. This is a boxing gym, and these guys have all of their fighters have this really wide stance. So Rousey's punching, throwing a haymaker, and she is totally off balance. Okay, this doesn't actually make sense for her to have the stance that she has. She has no head movement and no actual sense of defense. And this is a boxing gym? Like, it's a case of Ronda Rousey has been able to get away with this striking. Her striking's always been like this, but she's shown to have more power in her hands as of late. And she's able to get away with it because there aren't many Holly Holmes in the weight class. However, she can't do this forever. Holly Holm's going to come along. And that's what happened. And Rousey got knocked out by a head kick. Holm isn't the most heaviest handed puncher. She does have a really good head kick game. She has knocked out opponents with her head kick before. There's a lot to like from what I saw out of Holly Holm here. And there's a lot not to like with Ronda Rousey here as far as the skill set goes. It's like she only seems to have plan A. She doesn't seem to have plan B, C, D. It's like she doesn't. I don't know if she knows how to shoot for the legs, or something like that. And here's the other thing with her. Like, you can say, oh well, if she takes 6 months off or 8 months off and learns how to box and just focuses on boxing, then she can be pretty good. No, that's not how striking works, actually. Striking is one of the hardest and longest things, unless you're just absolute natural. Striking is one of the hardest things to learn. Distance management, being able to take a punch, just the fact that you're getting hit, footwork, proper punching mechanics. I mean, Rousey needs proper punching mechanics, among a lot of other things. You can't just say, oh yeah, 8 months, okay, yeah, she'll be fine. No, that's not going to happen. And Holly Holm has years and years of experience in kickboxing and boxing. They're saying that maybe there's going to have a rematch at UFC 200. There's going to have a rematch coming along. Holm versus Rousey 2. That's going to be a big seller. I believe that Rousey as of right now, is the betting favorite from what I heard. You can apparently bet on the fight right now, even though it's not actually formally announced. Um, Also, you got to think that the rest of the UFC women's bantamweight division is just thanking their lucky stars that like Holly Holm beat like Ronda Rousey. Like Misha Tate can like conceivably become the UFC women's bantamweight champion now if she beats Holly Holm, who's a fresh matchup, or Sarah McMahon, or Alexis Davis, Kat Zingano. They're all fresh matchups. Um, and if for whatever reason Holm and Rousey doesn't happen right away, Holm versus Tate should be the next fight that happens. Um, I'm very curious moving forward if Rousey's going to stay at her camp. Um, I have always been very critical of Glendale fighting, and I don't think they are properly suited for MMA. I really don't. Their track record is actually terrible. And honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, Tarverdyan just got the golden goose. That's the thing. Rousey was able to just use her judo for a long period of a time and get wins just from that. Striking has come along. Her clinch striking's not bad. She does have really good knees in the clinch. It's very natural for her, and elbows. Her outside striking is terrible. And make no mistake about it, it's not a case of Rousey wanting to be there. It's that Holm kept her there. There's no fluke here. There's no anything. This is the way Ronda Rousey fights. And quite honestly, this is the way Holly Holm fights. Rousey's leaving enough openings for Holm to fight. I mean, Holm has looked a bit uninspiring in her last two bouts in the UFC, but this is actually the way she fights. She angles out. She punches in combination, angles out. It's a little easier to do against Ronda Rousey because guess what? Ronda Rousey leaves herself open. The grappling was quite a surprise, though, because Holm's grappling has always been something of a question mark. I think it's very safe to say her takedown defense is good. Her ability to get back to her feet when taken down is excellent. And she's big for the weight class. She's hard to take down. She's very athletic, too, Great win for Holm. I picked Rousey to win that, but you know what? Like when she lost, it wasn't. I am a fan of Rousey. It's not like I hate Holm though. I like Holm enough, and these type of shakeups make mixed martial arts very interesting. Keeps it interesting. It really gives it the feeling of anything can happen at any time, and no one really is invincible. I'm very curious to see the fallout from this on Ronda Rousey's side and Holm's side, and just the rest of the division as well. Okay, finally, next fight, I thought Joanna Jędrzejczyk defeated Valerie Letourneau by unanimous decision. I think one of the biggest stories of the fight were the leg kicks were really good from Joanna and her use of combinations. Letourneau definitely kept the fight competitive. It was a fun fight to watch. Definitely, Jacek was watching out for those like right hand counters. She was taking some kicks to the body. I think it was a case that Jacek seemed to have adjusted first of all, and she was finding her range, and her technique always stayed with her throughout 5 rounds, whereas Letourneau was slowly but surely fading as the fight went along. Very fun fight. I like the combination striking of Jędrzejczyk. I like I like the leg kicks. That was really good. Her head kick, she was also going to the front kick to the face. You gotta love Jędrzejczyk's hand speed. Her defense is good too. She doesn't, Jędrzejczyk gets hit, but she doesn't get hit too hard. She rolls her punches well. There's a lot to like about Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I'm a big fan of hers. She has fun fights, super charismatic. I can definitely see her being a pretty long-standing champion at strawweight. Hard to take down, hard to keep down when taken down. Um, so yeah, this real fun fight. Letourneau you know, definitely kept it competitive. She was always in the fight. She looked huge or pretty big compared to Joanna, but that didn't stop Joanna from implementing her game plan. Um, and it didn't stop Joanna from staying technical. She stayed technical throughout the whole fight. That's what I liked. More than likely than not, Joanna's getting Claudia Gadelha next. That should be a really good fight. I liked her first fight, and I think the second fight should actually be pretty interesting. Letourneau, I mean, there's a lot of fighters she can get. She can get Jessica Aguilar. She can get Jessica Penne. She can get Carla Esparza. She can get the lose of Namajunas versus Van Zandt, among a host of others. Next right after that, Mark Hunt defeated Antonio Silva by TKO in the first round. It has to be said. I mean, Bigfoot looks real bad without TRT. I mean, he looks. I wanted to use the word weak. I can't really find a better word except that he just looks kind of weak, kind of gun shy, unable to take a hit. Even more so now. Yeah, this is a guy in the last 4 fights. He got knocked out in 3 of them, right? Arlovsky, Mir, win against Vallely, and then Hunt. So, Antonio Silva is a good fighter, but he looks pretty bad without that TRT. I mean, I'm just saying it right now. He just, like I said, I liked when I saw the Mark Hunt though, man. He looks in great shape. He was finding his target. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. Let me continue. Let me watch that. Hunt was in good shape. He's finding it, he's picking the shots real well. He's going for he's a shorter guy. He's going for the short shots. He kept backing Silva up against a cage a lot of times. You notice that Hunt was always the guy pressing. There's a lot to like about Hunt. He looked bad in that Stipe fight. Looked pretty decent against Verdum. So, Hunt's still in it. He's still like a top 10 guy. I think he can fight like Rothwell, maybe Travis Brown if he beats like the winner of Brown versus Mitrione. Hunt versus Barnett, that'd be cool too. With Antonio Bigfoot Silva, maybe give him like a Struve, a Roy Nelson. The loser of Brown versus Mitrione next. Next fight after that, Robert Whitaker defeated Uriah Hall by unanimous decision. I did pick this one correct. I was actually very happy about this. And Whitaker, the thing to like about Whitaker here was just his aggressiveness. I mean, quite honestly, this guy was just downright fearless in attacking Uriah Hall. I mean, he just went in there. He'd sometimes throw some haymakers, and it was pretty cool. And that was a thing. That's also a thing with Uriah Hall is that he's a guy that doesn't take getting pressured very well. But I will say this about Hall. He looked better in this fight. He looked a lot less. He seemed to have a greater sense of urgency, He was also hitting Whitaker pretty good himself. He went for the flashy moves and actually got taken down for it. But and I liked Whitaker's grappling. He looked really good in grappling sequences as well. So there's a lot to like about Whitaker here. Just real aggressive. He hits hard. He's got a good chin. His grappling has really come along. His takedown defense is really good. And yeah, in this fight, he can really put on the pressure. I like what I see from Whitaker. And actually, I actually like what I see from Hall here, just in the sense that like there weren't too many moments of just nothing happening. And something about Uriah Hall. Sometimes he has these fights where he faints and does nothing, or like just kind of stands there and does nothing. I didn't see that as much. There's actually a good amount to like from Uriah Hall here. Whitaker, though, onward and upwards. I mean, he's still, what, mid 20s, 24, 25, something like that. And now he's probably going to get top 10 matchups. I think he should get Michael Bisping next. I think that's the most appropriate fight for him. If not, maybe a Brunson, even though Lateez is coming off a loss. That'd be a fight with Lateez would be pretty cool. Or maybe CB Dalloway if he beats Nate Marquardt. Like those guys are on that level. Uriah Hall, he can get like a Lateez, maybe a loser of Dalloway, Marquardt. Well, Marquardt's probably cut if he loses again. But yeah, Uriah Hall, he's real mercurial. It's like he can look really good or he can look really bad, but like consistency isn't there. I saw a little more consistency in this game in this fight, so that's why I actually like what I saw from him. But this was a good one for Whitaker, nonetheless. Next fight after that, Jared Rosholt defeated Stefan Struve by unanimous decision. Just a terrible fight. I don't know what to say. It was an awful fight, man. I mean, Struve just, like, you can tell he's trying sometimes to keep Rosholt at distance. He couldn't defend a takedown. He couldn't get back to his feet when he was taken down. Rosholt more or less just laid on him. Ugh. Terrible, terrible fight. I'm sorry to say. It's not aesthetically pleasing. With Rosholt, he should get like a Ruslan Magomedov next or something like that. Struve, oh man, I don't know about this guy. He's still in his 20s, and he's like pretty much like peaked. I don't. If he's not losing the stand up, he's losing the grappling here. Apparently, his chin ain't very good either. He should just get more mid to lower tier guys of the division. Yeah, on the prelims, Jake Matthews defeated Akbar Ariola by TKO. It was a doctor stoppage in the second round. I like Jake Matthews. He's 21 years old. He is a pressure fighter. He is super strong, real physical. His ground and pound is devastating, but his stand-up defense sucks. I mean, it is downright terrible. He got blasted by Ariola. I mean, he was almost finished by Ariola. It's good that he came back and got the win and, got the finish too. But it goes to show that Jake Matthews, I like the guy. I think he's still a good prospect, but he still needs a lot of work. What he's good at, he's really good at. You do not want to be underneath this guy, even in full guard, because he's just going to beat you up. With that said, Matthews, obviously, he still needs some work. Going somewhere mid to lower tier guys of the division. Akbar Ariola, I mean, he's just kind of a veteran that's just kind of there, It's tricky. I don't know if he's going to get another fight in the UFC. I think he lost his last fight against, Master Nduba before this. Maybe he's just the guy to feed a prospect or something like that. Next fight after that, Kyle Noak defeated Peter Sabota by front kick to the liver or like to a rib. Man, that was devastating. Good performance from Kyle Noak, man. He looked real good. He did not let Peter Sabota inside. I thought Peter Sabota was going to win here. And no, Kyle Noak just had, he was able to keep him on the outside. And that finishing strike, man, that was just devastating. Peter Sabota yelled out, and, he tried to recover guard, try not to get too barraged, but, man, that was devastating. Noak's one of those guys where he hits hard, He's big for the weight class. He's kind of old. He's like mid-30s. And his takedown defense, quite honestly, isn't that good. I mean, he's a guy that's probably going to win some and lose some against the mid tier of welterweight. And welterweight's really deep too, so you got to understand that too. Noak's a guy, I wouldn't say treading water. He's just like a solid mid level guy, pretty much. Peter Sabota, I was really high on him when he came back into UFC, or relatively high on him. I liked what I saw from him. He was able to take guys down, take their back, choke them out a lot of times. He's still, striking is good, but it's not great. And as Kyle Noak showed, you can keep this guy on the outside and beat him up there, So, Sabota's definitely good enough to be in the UFC. Just get more mid to lower tier guys of the division. Next fight after that, John Vellante defeated Anthony Parash by knockout in the first round. Good performance by Vellante. He actually would attack Parash, but he wouldn't get too crazy, kind of like against like Tom Lawler, and just get knocked out. Parash isn't the biggest knockout threat, but collisions can cause knockouts. Vellante picked his shots well. He was hitting Parash really hard. I don't think he was in any threat to get taken down. And, got the knockout that was more or less I kind of expected him to get. Vellante it's so strange because, Vellante will beat an Anthony Parash. He'll beat a Corey Anderson. He'll lose to Tom Lawler. He'll lose to Fabio Maldonado. Vellante, he's 30 years old. He's a good, solid fighter, but and it seems like he's making a bit more improvements. Like I said, he wasn't just rushing in when he saw his opponent hurt or anything like that. So that in itself was good improvement. He should probably just fight more mid-level guys of the division. Parash, man, this guy gets knocked out bad, and it used to be a case where Parash can beat a couple mid-level guys. That doesn't even seem like a case. It doesn't even look like he can beat the mid-level guys anymore. He lost to Sean O'Connell, got knocked out by him, got knocked out by John Vellante. He's a guy. He's always been a good hand to the UFC, so maybe he gets another fight. But he's in his 40s. His chin isn't very good. He's kind of a gatekeeper type, but even then, he's starting to become less and less like a gatekeeper type. If they keep Parash, just give him some pretty low-level guys of the division. Next fight after that, Danny Martinez defeated Richie Vachilik by unanimous decision. I picked Richie Vass here, and this was definitely one of those in hindsight. It's Danny Martinez, he's something of a brawler, and Richie Vachilik, his stand-up has improved. He's actually a bit more technical, but Danny Martinez at the very end of the day is still a pretty decent wrestler. Vachilik is an okay wrestler, and he's good at taking the back. I thought that Vachilik should have probably taken advantage more of getting his own offensive takedowns, because the way Danny Martinez fights, he leaves himself very off balance and open to get taken down. But Martinez, he brawled with Vachilik. He utilized some good offensive takedown ability. Would actually reverse positions on the ground against Vachilik. So it was a good win for Martinez, who's shown to just be a very tough guy, with some pretty good wrestling and, kind of a brawler. So, he did enough to keep his job in the UFC. Richie Vachilik, though, it's really tough with him because, he seems like a perpetual, low-level guy of the division. I don't really know how else to say it. He's okay, but he's not. It's hard to even call him that good, There's some guys he can probably take down, take their back, and choke them out and whatnot. But for the most part, he's not the best athlete. Stand-up's okay, and it's improving. And his grappling skills are good, but obviously a guy like Danny Martinez showed that, he can definitely get out-grappled. I don't know if he stays in the UFC or not. Tough to say. I guess he's good for Australian cards, I suppose. Both guys, lower to mid-tier guys of the division. Okay, on the UFC Fight Pass prelims, Daniel Kelly defeated Steve Montgomery by unanimous decision. I thought this was actually a pretty fun fight. Steve Montgomery was getting some good shots in the stand-up. He couldn't really keep Kelly away enough to avoid the takedown. And actually, when Kelly took him down, he actually did beat him up. So I actually thought this was actually a pretty solid fight. Kelly's big, strong, and tough. And he has a really good judo game, judo ground and pound game. Stand-up's not that great. But he definitely has enough to beat like a couple mid-level guys of the UFC middleweight division. Steve Montgomery, honestly, I don't. He got knocked out by Tony Sims in his last fight, and then he just lost this fight. I can't really justify. I can't really justify personally. Or I don't see like why you'd want to keep him in the UFC at this point unless you want him to be something of a fun action fighter. But like to be honest, I think he might actually just do better in the regional scene. Get a little. He just looks like he needs more seasoning for sure. Daniel Kelly, just more mid-level guys in the division for him. Next right after that, Richard Walsh defeated Steve Kennedy by unanimous decision. I didn't like Walsh's fight IQ. Man, was he just winning that stand-up and hurting Kennedy bad in the stand-up. The grappling, like I don't know why Walsh chose to grapple with Kennedy. Kennedy, I'm going to just say right now, he doesn't look like he's ready for this level of competition. I mean, he lost his last fight to Sabota, and then he looked thoroughly kind of outclassed here against Richard Walsh, especially in the stand-up. Walsh, solid enough fighter, got a good clinch game. He can grapple a bit. Just more mid to lower tier guys of the division for him. So right after that, James Montazeri defeated Anton Zafir by TKO. Was it saying TKO here? But in the first round, it was a spinning back fist. Montazeri at 170 actually doesn't look too bad. I think he's just going to be a fun action fighter. And hey, you know what? That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. He can defend takedowns relatively well. He has like a taekwondo style. His cardio looked like pretty bad at 155, and sometimes he'd even miss weight. At 170, maybe his cardio is going to keep up, and he can do like his crazy kicks and whatnot. Montazeri hits hard. He does have a pretty flashy style. Definitely the ingredients for a fun action fighter at this point. Anton Zafir, I don't know if he's ready for this level of competition, to be perfectly honest with you. Striking looked a bit awkward, So it's really tough to say. I'll probably, he took the fight on short notice. He at least deserves another fight in the UFC. But like from video I've seen from him and whatnot, I just don't really feel that he's ready for this level of competition. Montazeri, if they can give him more like action fighters at 170, hey, that'd be pretty cool. And finally, Ben Nguyen defeated Ryan Benoit by rear naked choke in the first round. I like what I see out of Ben Nguyen. He's a fun action fighter. He strikes well. He can grapple well. There's a lot to like about him. I think he can actually get something of a run at the UFC. Flyweight division? Well, I think he can get something of a run. He has a pretty solid, well-rounded skill set. And yeah, there's a lot to like about him. Ryan Benoit, this guy, he's fun, but he is not defensively sound. Even in the regional scene, I noticed he's just not a defensively sound fighter. I think he's good enough to be in the UFC. He's tough. But, just give him more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. With Ben Nguyen, I believe this is 2 wins in a row now. Let's give him a bit of a step up, and flyweight. I'm not, it's a relatively thin division, so it's hard to say who you can maybe give him someone that's like more closer to 11 to 15 at this point. Because I'm actually really liking what I see out of Ben Nguyen. So that's it for my UFC 193 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And yeah, that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.